Thank you, Nancy, and thank you for all the incredible work that you've done, for your remarkable service to the American people in both your immediate past role and your new role at the United States Institute for Peace. To Johnny Carson and to so many others who helped make USIP such a great part of our country and its future. I'd also like to specifically thank, out of all the different folks who I could, Ambassador Deb Malik, who was a tireless, passionate, and engaged ambassador. Please, a round of applause for her remarkable work. I think during my brief, most recent visit, you were literally with me from the moment I got off the plane to the moment I left, and your level of engagement and passion for the relationship between the United States and Liberia, and your determination to leave no stone unturned in making a difference in supporting Madam President and in delivering effective relief was truly inspiring, so thank you. We are also joined today by a remarkable public servant who is among the most humble Americans I've ever met, Ron Klain, who was the President's Special Ebola Response Coordinator in the White House. His tireless dedication knew no boundaries. The hours he put in, his attention to detail, his passion for execution, he is one of the great unsung heroes of the American response. Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Klain. You know, these days in the United States Senate, there are so few issues that are genuinely bipartisan. The response to Ebola and the United States' relationship with Africa is one of the very few. And so I briefly wanted to thank a number of tremendous and determined and engaged Republican colleagues of mine. Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona, with whom I served on the Africa Subcommittee, Johnny Isakson of Georgia, Jim Inhofe of Oklahoma, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who were all essential to the level and degree of sustained support, along with many others in my party, Senator Pat Leahy and many others. I'm grateful for the hard work they've all put in. And certainly last but not least, many of the folks who are here with us today represent the different nonprofit organizations, the men and women from this country, from Liberia, and from around the world who put their heart and soul into the response to Liberia, who's seeing a moment of great challenge, often at great risk to themselves, invested enormously in making sure that this response could be successful. But of all the folks I have the opportunity to introduce today, the one I'm most excited about is my friend, President Sirleaf. When I first met President Sirleaf roughly 4 years ago, I was struck immediately by her passion for her people and her commitment to a cause much larger than herself, that of reuniting and rebuilding the nation of Liberia. I had the great fortune to be in Monrovia on the occasion of her second inauguration as the guest of then-Secretary Hillary Clinton. It was a momentous occasion. Liberia had just held free and fair national elections, and as President Sirleaf commented that day, and I quote, "The second election is the true test of the will of the people and the institutions they have worked together to create. If the second election works, it establishes a pattern, a tradition, a routine of democracy that subsequent elections can follow." But though Liberia had succeeded at that moment when many other democracies, emerging democracies, had failed, Liberia still harbored deep and painful divisions following its long and brutal civil war. And in the audience before her that day were many opposition leaders who only days before had been vocally resisting the election's results and who had fought, many, as leaders in different factions of the Civil War. What President Sirleaf did that day, I will never forget. She spoke of the importance of democracy, of unity, of healing and reconciliation, and then stepped forward and made it real. She walked to the front of the stage when she was finished with her speech and called up the opposition leaders and invited them to step forward and, by embracing her, to demonstrate to the people of Liberia that democracy had been embraced and the election was over and the nation would move forward. There was a moment of great tension and silence as she stood there with her arms open to the crowd, and a whole group of security folks surrounded Secretary Clinton. And there was a longer and more tense moment as she simply stood there bravely. And then slowly, first one, then two, then three, almost like schoolboys, the opposition leaders, challenged by the courage of her stance, came forward and embraced her. It was a remarkable moment. At a time when others might have celebrated their own electoral triumph or tried to relegate their opponents to the sidelines, she elevated them. When some might have used the opportunity to exert their authority, she knew the job she'd been elected to do could not be done alone, and that building a Liberia that genuinely works for all Liberians, that heals, that unites, that is free and equal, that building that country would take the dedication of many, including her most recent opponents. And so it was, to many of us, little surprise in this past year when, as Ebola ravaged Liberia's communities and terrified not just the people of Liberia and Guinea and Sierra Leone, but much of the world, and threatened the survival of its young democracy in Liberia, that President Sirleaf did not just step up to the task, but was more than capable of embracing the task. Throughout our relationship, she's also inspired me with her demonstrations of humility, which are all too rare, I think, amongst elected leaders these days. One of the hardest things for leaders to do is to ask for help. They tend to think doing so is a sign of weakness, but the truth is what it really signals is dedication and strength. Dedication to service, to solutions, to saving the lives of those who desperately need help. And while she works now tirelessly to continue stabilizing her nation, she retains a powerful focus on the future, as should we. That was made clear to me during my visit in December, because as she talked with gratitude about the impact that American troops and volunteers and resources had made on turning Liberia away from crisis, she was clear that unless our aid translated into lasting investments with Liberians in Liberian capabilities, resilience, and recovery, we would not build a truly stronger Liberia together. Friends, as Nancy described, we have come a long way in the fight against Ebola. It is not over. Some of the hardest work remains in getting to zero and in rebuilding a robust and capable public health system for Liberia. But the people of Liberia have accomplished this, and they have shown an unwavering resilience and fortitude that I think is exemplified profoundly by their great elected leader. There are so many here and around the world who deserve thanks and credit, especially all the humanitarian organizations who are represented, but no one deserves our praise, in my view, more than President Sirleaf. Her dedication, humility, and foresight are trademarks of a leader I am honored to call a friend. So now please allow me to introduce my friend and Liberia's leader, Her Excellency, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.